go, my presentation. So today I'm going to talk about introvert leadership. And same thing. So little secret I have, I do not like talking to any of you guys. And it's not you guys, it's me. And it's always been like this. And for me, it's been one of those things where it took me a while to figure out what it was. Like, what's wrong with me? So my story is I went to Emory Goizeta Business School a couple years ago. And as part of the organizational behavior class, they make you take this thing called Myers-Briggs. And there's this little box. You guys might not be able to see it, but it's this I letter in the bottom left. And the I letter stands for introverts. And it's not that you don't like people. I discovered it's that you don't draw a ton of energy from being around big groups of people. And so it made a lot of things clear to me. It's just to back it up a little bit. I'm the little muddy kid on the right. But when I was a little kid, I was super quiet. I never talked. I think my mom thought there was something wrong with me because I remember she took me in for tests one time and they're just like, doesn't talk very much. Continue to be like that. This is a picture where the photographer says smile. And my parents are so pissed at all these pictures all the time. So I think from the time I was 1 until the time I was 18, there's not a single picture of me actually smiling. And was always shy, didn't like talking to people. And it was one of these things where it just took me a while to figure out what it was. So I went through high school not having to talk to very many people. Was on sports teams, which helped a little bit, but went to Georgia Tech, which is a school here in town. Some of you may have heard of it, that's renowned for extroverts. Not the case, but this guy knows what I'm talking about. Got through that and went to a company called Accenture. Accenture has this consulting thing where you go out, you talk to clients, shake hands, but my experience was I was in computer security. So they sat me down at a desk and said, okay, work tonight and hack into these guys' networks. And I was like, perfect, I don't have to talk to clients. So that was my experience there. So did that for a while, and then a very, very terrible thing happened to me. I was really good at that, and so they made me a manager. And yeah, so one of the problems with being a manager is you get put into the situation where here's 10 people, go manage them on a project. And it was tough at first, and I struggled through it. And then I got to the point where they said, here's 50 people, go manage them. And also go manage the clients and go talk to all these people. And I was like, this is not me, I'm not feeling it. It's really, really hard to do. I'm not super good at it, not comfortable at all. So I decided to go quit and start a company because that'll fix it. And that didn't fix it. It turns out if you start a company, you have to talk to people. You have to sell. You have to be engaged with your employees. You have to do really tough things sometimes. You have to go and talk to people. And if you have to fire somebody, actually sitting there and saying, having a real conversation with a human being is very, very hard for me. So I learned a couple things coming out of this. There's a couple tips I have. In the last 7 years, I've gotten a lot better at talking to people. Some of you may have actually even talked to me and thought that I wasn't a terrible introvert. But I think the thing I always figured out is that small talk is probably the worst thing to do if you're an introvert. So asking somebody, hey, do you like the Braves? Yeah. That's all you get. So actually asking real questions about people, finding out things, and there's some funny ones up here. If you ever try one of these, actually the responses are pretty interesting. Have you ever been arrested? I asked this the other day. I got some awesome stories out of people. I've never been arrested, just so you guys know. Been close a couple times, but got lucky. The second thing is have your thing. And this is an interesting one. I know this guy named Dillard is one of my friends. He works out of Austin, manages a group of probably about 300 people. And this guy is one of the quietest guys you meet. And I'm like, I knew you could definitely pick up that he's an introvert. And so I asked him one day, Dillard, why do you always wear a bow tie? And he goes, well, I'm an introvert, and it gives people something to talk about when they come up to me. And I thought that was pretty funny. And I met somebody else who does something similar. The guy had like a belt buckle collection. It's always like wearing a belt buckle. I picked up on it, include me in. So I think having your thing, whether it's you play a sport or you like a certain type of car or you wear a bow tie, just know what it is and be able to tell stories about it and engage people because they'll ask you. They'll come up and ask you. The next thing I had is make eye contact, which is a pretty important one. I think there's always a joke about how do you tell the introverted developer from the less introverted developer, and the introverted one stares at your shoes when talking to you. So if you guys are in software, you get that one, but it's a Georgia Tech joke. but actually looking at people when you talk to them. So I even coach some of my own employees on this. You know, when you're engaged with the client, when you're engaged with the customers, make sure that you're out there talking to people and you look at them. And one of the other things that helps you with listening and actually speaking when you're engaging with people. Next thing, do team stuff. This is one that took me a couple years of managing people to understand that, you know, team things are very important, whether it's you going and trying to network. So my thing I've done is I always go play basketball and tennis. And I think actually being in groups of people where you're doing something else, and you know, recently doing like Habitat for Humanity for me just helps me go meet other people and talk to other people. And you know, being out with a large group or a large number of people and you're all doing the same thing at least gives you context or things to talk about. And within my organization, you know, we do this a lot too. We try to have team events every quarter and go do, you know, volunteer things or go do fun things like paintball, which get ugly if you ever try it with your company. Focus on others. This one was one where, you know, my wife taught me this. You have to ask other people what they're doing. Ask them interesting questions. Ask them, you know, what are their hobbies? What are the things they care about? What are they passionate about? You know, what's going on in their lives? Be interested. As an introvert, you don't have to talk a lot if you actually get interesting things out of other people. So for me, it's like get other people talking and you don't have to talk as much. Sort of a little life hack there. And the last thing is, you know, as a leader in an organization, you know, there's been a lot of really successful people that are introverts. Can I see a show of hands in the room, people who think they're introverts? It's pretty low. I think the other half probably are, but you guys aren't raising your hands. You know, I think like Warren Buffett, so I met him once, and, you know, definitely one of these guys, he doesn't say a lot, then as soon as he gets started, he's on a roll. But, you know, people like that, when, you know, you realize that you're in a role, you have to talk to people, you have to be responsible, and you're put in this position as a leader of your organization to, you know, have to go out there and, you know, do this every day and pretend you're an extrovert. And I guess role play is the kind of word I have. But for me, it's one of the big things is, you know, if you're an introvert, if you're an extrovert, you have to be out there and you got to put yourself out. So that's my story.